Hey everybody! Welcome back to another episode of Talkin' Shit ATL with your host Amanda Ellenberg.
And I'm Prodigy Q.
And then we have our canine host Teddy here, being a good boy. So what are we going to talk about today?
Today we're talking about kind of the future of the film industry. And kind of everything that's correlating with it, streaming services, kind of all the things. It actually kind of was a conversation I had actually with someone a few months ago. And we were just kind of talking about just kind of the current states of, where we see film right now, kind of current Hollywood movies, how people kind of consume those kind of, that type of content as well.
Yeah.
And then so I was like, let's bring it on the show, talk about it, kind of get our perspectives of it, because I thought it was a good conversation just to kind of have with somebody who is very random and who's not even in the industry, and to kind of hear their take and their thoughts as well. So so I was like, let's bring it to the show and let's talk our shit about it. I guess. Talk our shit about it. So yeah. But currently, I guess as it stands for me, I've been really just paying a lot of attention to kind of, I guess, the streaming services a lot. There's so many of them. All the major networks are now kind of getting their own, platforms, or making their own platforms in order to put out their content or their original content. And so I wonder also like how that kind of competition plays into, like the current state of, Hollywood or Hollywood generated movies.
And I feel like there isn't a lot of like competition for the big studios because like Shmishni owns all of them. Like owns literally everything. So it's like I feel like the lower like budget productions are the ones really competing. And then a lot of these big streaming services, there's, 5 competing against one, like it's like it's quickly becoming not as big of a competition on the big level as it used to be. And I don't necessarily think that that's a good thing, but like, if I had money and power and owned businesses, I'd be buying them up too. So I can't fault them, but I don't think it's a great thing for a lot of people in the industry. And I mean, it's like you learn playing Monopoly growing up. Like a Monopoly like does not end up as the greatest thing for all the people underneath it.
Right.
And
I feel like, 2 points to that I want to make. The first being like, I think that, to me, that's also is what's going to play into the fall of the industry in that realm because of that. And I think because when you look at what the people want and what the people want to see, it's not so much of like, again, what that kind of particular company is kind of doing and producing, I mean, if you think about the things that they've produced, it's all been remakes of the things they've already produced, and I think that at the time in which it was created, again, I mean, TVs was kind of still new. I mean, not even many people still had them, or color had become a thing. So when it came to like the technology of like TV and film, I mean, it was still bustling and getting bigger. I mean, as far as everything they was implementing, I mean, we came from what the silent films all the way to actual color things. Again, it was doing so not 3D things at that point, but animated things, and I mean so technology had already grown within what about 20, 30 years or so. So I think everything was new, and then have those and of course the genius and what Disney did, they took those kind of folklore stories that people's already telling and animated them and made them into, which is how so they took and popular stories,
Pixar and all of that.
So but I don't know, again, by having that monopoly, if that's going to work well, because again, like, people are getting to a place, like, because I'm having conversations just with general public, not general public, but peers and things of that nature, and everybody's saying the same thing. Again, it's that constant same thing again, all the remakes. Okay, when are we getting something new? And I think that's why it's going to push. And what's happened where a lot of people have gotten these other streaming services is because it's like, okay, well, we can get different things. We can get something maybe more tailored to what we personally like, individually like, outside of kind of what this kind of conglomerate is creating and putting out.
Yeah. And it makes sense, like, from their standpoint, because people are going to watch it. People fell in love with the original stories. Right. Like, they are going to make money, and that's what the business is in a grand scheme thing, is that people with money trying to make money, and like, I mean, everybody's trying to make money, everybody's trying to live, but like that, so it makes sense that they are creating these things, but like, that's where I think AI is going to take over a lot, because I feel like there are a lot of people with new ideas, but they're not getting the funding. I don't know why, but I feel like a lot of it seems at least that a lot of like the bigger name companies are relying on their old stuff to be able to create new stuff, and that's like all they have. Like, they don't have other ideas that at least they feel are worth investing.
And I think that's what it comes down to, because I look at it from a money perspective, as a business perspective, producer, investor perspective, and say, okay, the goal is to be able to reap a return, right? And I know, and again, and I feel like, of course, there's a disconnect in, again, what people really, really want versus, again, what they feel like, okay, well, because nobody wants to flop, and of course, in the industry, there are movies that have flop, where, and for people who maybe not
some big budget ones too.
That term kind of means is like where you spent more to make the film than maybe it brought in, and they kind of consider that, a flop if it didn't, at least make a profit.
And that's kind of the scary thing in the industry, which is why it becomes like this of like, you don't know what will sell until it's out, and you don't know like how that's going to change either. Like, there are like cult classics now that did horrible at the box office, but when they did horrible, people were thinking, okay, we don't invest in something like this. Right. But something that already has a cult following that people are going to invest in, then they'll take more risks in the budget than like a new idea. Right,
exactly. And I mean, that's across the board. I mean, it's the same thing, even with theater and those kind of things too. I mean, typically you'll see, particular seasons have a few major productions that people have known or seen, or at least do a popular musical because of those things. Like, we know that this will bring in people who like this, so let's put it in our season, and we can experiment around those to hopefully get those people to be like, okay, well, they did such a great production of this. Yeah, I go see, maybe something that might be independently produced, or something, maybe a show that's a little less known.
I feel like usually for theater, they'll have a big one in the beginning of the season, then a few experiments, then a huge one, their biggest one, Christmas time, because that's when a lot of people are going to go. Right. And then they'll have, like, in the middle of a spring, like, they'll have a couple more experiments. The middle of the spring, they'll create back that revenue with the big show, and then do a couple experiments to, like, finish out the season. I feel like that's done in almost every theater in that way.
And film has that same kind of system or pattern, is where they'll do, of course, like all action things typically come out in the summer. Of course, you'll get your horror things, around Halloween, and then of course all your Christmas and family movies and children's movies around around the end of the year. And so definitely see that pattern and kind of get there. But I will say that I wonder if movies and stuff becomes obsolete, kind of like blockbuster kind of a thing. you know, I know the past few times that, you know, I've gone to the movies, you know, it's never been like filled like it used to be. You know?
No, only during Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
was it like how it used to be.
Yeah, so I wondered that at the same time is it because people, again, it's easy to watch it, you know, again from things from the comfort of your home, which again I've noticed too that a lot of things really go from movie theater to streaming services a whole lot quicker. Yeah, like a whole lot quicker.
Yeah, and there's some people that are like, well, how do you expect me, like, you can't put a movie out basically the same time as it goes out to the theaters and expect it to sell in the theaters. So I feel like you can't like hold it against the production. But some productions are being like yours didn't sell, so you're not gonna get another chance when they didn't really give it the full chance to succeed.
Right.
Because if it's on, for me, if I don't have to wait to go see it and I can see something that I really want to see on streaming, I'm gonna do that.
Right, exactly.
But if you have a few weeks where I'm like, or months really, where I'm not going to get to see it, then I might go to the theater.
And I feel like a lot of those things correlate because it's like if you know, paying for the streaming service already monthly, and we already know that, like, you know, ticket prices now for a movie are like, you know, like $1 bajillion, you know, plus by the time you get snacks and all this stuff, so it's like, well, I'm gonna end up spending $40, well, I'm already spending, you know, maybe, you know, a little less than 20 a month to already receive, so.
Well, that's only really if you're paying for one or maybe two if you're paying $20 a month, because they have all gone up. I know. And then they're all like spreading out and taking away things, so then like people get more, and it just it's wild. I wonder. That's what I wonder for the future. Is it? I feel like there's gonna be some kind of besides like Tubi and stuff, because they already do it, but some kind of like big independent streaming service, and I feel like that's an idea that a lot of people can get behind and will support because of the culture of like wanting to fight the man and be against big business, you know, and support the local business. So I feel like that will be something that happens, but it's gonna take a big old fight to get that to the same level of success.
And honestly, I don't even think it's going to take a bigger fight as we think, because I mean, personally, I really do really believe that whole movie Hollywood thing is going to have its day. And if this, you know, when this comes out, and if it comes to fruition, which I believe, you know, I want you guys to remember that I was the first one to predict this to happen. But I do think that the push is going to be into the independent sector because people want original.
Yeah.
And what we know is with the consumerism, you supply demand. You're going to go where the people want. And when people are down getting these particular streaming services, it's because of that. We want this kind of content. And unfortunately, from what we said before, we can see, honestly, Hollywood can't compete with what the people want. Or not be, again, a financial risk to them. And until they're willing to take that risk, then I mean, honestly, streaming platforms is going to have the upper hand. And I see people saying, why am I going to go to the movies to see this same movie 5 times and I can stay home and I can watch it here, and I'm not going to spend the money. You know? And then so Hollywood then has to respond with, again, what we're seeing literally now with these major big productions, you know, or, you know, fully star-studded. I mean, you know, a lot of these movies have 10 stars associated to them.
I know. And that immediately I'm always like, what was the budget? How did y'all afford them?
But you gotta understand that they had to, before where 1 or 2 actors is solid enough to get people to go. It's like we have to put all of these different people to try to pull in all of these different crowds based off of, you know, because that's the only way they're going to continue to kind of stay in the race, so to speak. But even now you have, again, you know, stuff like Netflix where they're casting and hiring the stars as well. Yeah. So now it's like, now I really don't even have to go or get to the movies to see my favorite star. I can still see my favorite star right in the comfort of my home.
And the streaming services are also competing within themselves, which is part of the reason why like those remakes are still like getting made, because it's also, they're not selling the things to take a chance on either. Like a lot of times it is like big name stuff or remakes that get to the front of your platform. And like, I don't know about you, but I want to be better about this, but I rarely actually like go through everything and really take everything in to find my thing. I usually just go to whatever's suggested, whatever I like out of what's suggested, I go there.
Yeah.
And that's usually like big name stuff.
Yeah. And for me, I'm a little bit more experimental. Like I kind of look at kind of what the, for me, I'm just book by cover. The thumbnail looks kind of good, and man, my middle description, I'm gonna take a chance. I'm gonna check it out. But it's also because like at the same time, I don't watch a lot of things. So for me, it's like if I'm watching anything, I know it's gonna be new, and as long as the plot's ultimately gonna be good, then that's kind of really I care about. But
yeah, I usually when I watch TV actually watch and listen to something I've seen a million times, because I normally am not actually sitting down and taking it in. Yeah. I'm normally like having it playing while I'm like cleaning. Yeah, and
that's true too.
I
do those things too. Sometimes when I'm really starting a whole new season or something, I'll just go back and watch maybe a favorite episode or something, another season, or start a whole season back over just to I
have a long list of things I want to watch,
but I also feel like on top of that too, when it comes to since like COVID and people's need for content, I don't think equally again that Hollywood can compete, because for the simple fact that we know these products that maybe consumers don't really be knowing or realize is that it is a process to make a film. Like it is a long process, sometimes months, and with some films even years to fully produce. Something.
No, the whole thing kind of takes a year minimum.
Yeah,
from like pre-production and getting your money, and all the work that like accounting and everyone does beforehand, all the departments, all the designers, everybody doing beforehand. Then you might shoot for like 3 months, but people are working for 4 months beforehand, 4 months after, maybe even longer. Yeah. And then the people that start the production that bring it to the studios are like years in the making. Right.
Yeah. And so I feel like when you have to go through a process like that, where it does take that, and then people say, well, we're ready for the even with these shows. I mean, it is that same process. Even with streaming services as well, the things they put out, it's the same process. But then again, consumers will binge that show in a weekend, or of course watch that movie. As soon as they put the movie out, they've already watched it.
Yeah, they got the instant gratification.
And it's like, okay, where's the next one? And it's like, well, it takes a process. So I think these streaming services, when they get a good system, they can do stuff back to back and put this out and that out. It's like, but we've already suggested 10 new movies, 20 new movies in the past few months, and they're still on their first year, first season, whatever. Or with the movies is typically various amount of movies per year, but I mean, I'm sure that streaming services are probably doing double, triple, though, those new introductions and new, ideas for film, especially if you're opening up to independent artists, because it's like now we allow them a platform where they can put their stuff out. So in between time while we're even doing our originals and all this stuff, we got independent projects we can push out. And again, I mean, and comparatively, there's no way. Now granted, that would be amazing for us if Hollywood was making that kind of, like, we need people, we need roles, you know what I mean? That would be amazing. So hopefully they will kick that up. Because then, I mean, we'd all be working. Look.
Well, speaking of working, I do want to get into the strike's impact a little bit. Because, like, and there's talks of different strikes coming, like we'll see what happens with IATSE, which is essentially, for those that don't know, it's like the crew side. There's more than that. There's more unions than that, but that's all you need to know is that it's crew. And they're starting talks and negotiations and all this different stuff. So we wouldn't actually see the impact of that, and if it was going to move towards a strike until closer to the fall. But But that's a very real possibility too.
Right.
So hopefully the studios have learned by like how long we were all out and the billions of dollars that were lost.
Yeah.
That they, you know, they got it now, but I'm sure you can see right now that there's not as many things out that are new on your streaming services compared to last year.
Yes, or even in the movies. Like I literally, you know, trying to go recently a couple of times. I mean, even the things that they had, I was just like, where are the rest of the options? You know what I mean? Like, what, you know, it was like, I mean, it wasn't comparatively to like say how it used to be. Yeah, I was like, some stuff I was confused as if they were showing stuff they already put out. Like that's what it was like. I thought this came out already.
Yeah, but everything's go right now. So I do think that the fall you'll have a bigger influx of things coming out than we did because, like, at least for the productions I've been on, I mean, human beings can only go so fast, but really, like, it is a big push to get more done faster because of all the time and money that's already been lost. Yeah. So maybe there'll be more things come out because of that push in the fall compared, but at least right now you're gonna see that there's not much coming out until the fall minimum, like at the earliest, because there were a lot of things that didn't finish before the strike that tried to, that are now like working on it, and it takes a while to edit and do everything in post-production. So I think we've talked about this, but pre-production is like before production is when you're filming. And then pre-production is everything before filming. Post-production is everything after you've wrapped, which means like you've finished filming, wrapping, essentially. So I'm really interested to see that. I also want to talk about Georgia's impact and how filming is going to change here.
And you mean like just overall, like, you know, maybe with the next couple of years, or you just mean in general, or what do you mean?
So a few different things actually. So there was a bill passed in Georgia and in 2003, I want to say, but early 2000s, the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act. It was, hey, come here. Come on.
I feel that was coming.
Me too. With the howling. I was trying to ignore it to see if... Okay. So, yeah, there was a bill passed, I think, in 2003, but the early 2000s. And it was changed a little bit in 2008. But it's the Georgia Entertainment Industry Investment Act. And this act... It granted qualified productions a transferable income tax of 20% of all the in-state costs for film and television investments of $500,000 or more. But there's no cap on it. It just has to be minimum $500,000, but it can be way more than that, and you get 20% back basically on a tax credit, and you get an additional 10% if you use the Georgia film logo at the end. If you've actually watched any credits I've seen recently,
I've seen it a lot. I mean, I watch credits, so but I've seen it a lot. It was like, Georgia Film was part of this?
I know. Not really, but they got their 10% for saying that it was all because of them.
I was like, a lot of things, you know, I mean, a lot of things are coming out of Georgia, but at this time when I was noticing, it was like, wait.
Yeah.
It was significant.
So, I mean, obviously that like has brought a lot of people here, and that's why we've had the increase that we have. But there were some times where people thought it was all going away from Georgia, like when it was passed of the carry like that you could walk around with a gun essentially. That was almost made people leave. And then when the abortion bill was almost like passed and it put into practice, it actually really was the film industry that stopped that, because everybody and their mother was threatening to not come back. Now, whether they would have actually not come back because of because the bills are talking.
Right.
I don't know, but they definitely were more strong and not coming back during that. But now, like, I just saw that there was a lot of small businesses that are affected by these laws because, they have to tell businesses if they're going to film in their area, and they have to pay whoever they use their actual space. Like, if they use a restaurant, they have to pay that restaurant. But they do not have to pay any businesses that are affected by the filming. So, like, when they shut down streets, like, essentially when they, like, when they have all their trucks parked there, when they have base camp, which is, like, basically your headquarters when you're filming, but it's not usually near where filming is, where they have all that, they have all their trucks, the load-in and everything. There are businesses right there, but they don't have to pay them.
Oh, wow.
It's just what's shot. So they get a lot of money lost.
Right.
If sometimes they get an even out by people from the film going and going to that business during the day or whatever, but usually they lose out on money and they don't get paid back for it. So there's also this push to, like, I saw an article like 4 days about this guy talking about it in Atlanta, and there is now a little bit of a push to get that put into law, that they will have to pay businesses. I couldn't find, I guarantee you they have to do that in California, but I couldn't find the information to verify it. So if y'all have it, let us know.
Right.
But they do have to inform them. That's part of it. But, I mean, telling me nothing ain't paying my bills.
Is that all right?
That's just preparing me, I guess, to
customers can't even get in our door. You're not even filming out. You're not even using our restaurant.
Right. And there's apparently some people that are, like, actively being like, we won't come to, like, in the industry that, I never got any names, but, because I would say them. But there's, like, some people being like, we will not use your business, and we also will block it, and sucks to suck. So, but that is definitely, like, a lot of the back end stuff that people don't get to see, that I think has caused a lot of the business to come here because they have those loopholes and then also tax benefits. So I mean it's weird because it's a good thing overall because there are more jobs here.
Right.
I can be in Atlanta now and work in the film industry, and that is amazing. That's not something that was here before. Yeah. I'm very thankful for that. I think the tax credit was a good idea. Now, like, homes are going up and there's not enough pay for that, so there are a lot of people not in the industry being negatively affected. But I'm very thankful, like, from my position, that we're here, so I don't want it to go away, but there's got to be a better balance that we can have where the businesses still win so that they come here and give the jobs, but, like, small businesses don't lose out. The general public isn't constantly losing out to that either.
Right. And I have to agree with that too. I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, Atlanta wasn't kind of built for that. And I think that's going to have to happen. Is, I mean, granted, there is Tyler Perry Studios, and I know a lot of production companies and stuff that do use that space, of course, for various different things. But I do think that it has to be kind of the same way, like how Hollywood has that kind of certain, kind of the designated place for a film, and I think that here, I mean, it's typically literally everywhere. It's literally everywhere, anywhere. Like, even the other day, I was taking somebody home and just happened to go down a random street. GPS was telling me to go, and I make a turn and it's blocked off, and they're filming on that street. So it's like I had to go all the way around, and again, in the way it was like again a random street, in the neighborhood, and so it's literally at any point, any place, and I think that again, I mean, our roads are already not built for residents that live here, so maneuvering around trucks, and I mean, we know how these things are, especially when they're blocking off streets or parts of streets. I mean, it's you can't hide them. These are big trucks. Typically, it's like trailer trucks, multiple ones, sometimes lined up, and so sometimes there's no easy way to maneuver around all this stuff depending on what's being shot or filmed. And
yeah, it was actually, that made me think of this story because this dude was trying to drop off someone like near where we were filming, and they were like in the shot basically, and also this was a piece where it was in a different time period where like none of these cars are supposed to be there, and like you're definitely not supposed to have like like earbuds on and stuff. So they were in the shot, they stopped in the shot. Well, they stopped what could have been in the shot, maybe. But then the security was like yelling at them like, go, they're filming. And then the security was also yelling. And I'm like, okay, they're going to have to cut, ma'am. And it was like, go. And then they pulled up right in the shot. Really? Like 100%. It's not even a question of whether they were in the shot then. Oh, and it was like a new car. There were like Teslas driving by. There were so many people walking with like AirPods and stuff. I can't wait to see when it comes out and look for that scene, because there were people walking up to the windows waving hello like we were doing a news like channel. Really? It was so crazy. It was so crazy. Then I was on another set and the same parking lot was being used for 2 different shows, and so I tried to get on the bus, and thankfully I asked because that bus was not for me.
Really? Wow.
So even like in the industry, I see how big of an impact and how many productions we have, because I'm working on a set and there's 3 different sets right there. You know,
that's wild.
That's insane.
It's insane.
It's so crazy.
So I think, like I said, we need a major kind of subdivision that's particularly for that. Again, like how those major studios already have it set up, and
yeah.
So, and I mean, I do hear like Type Her Studios does kind of have like everything you need. So, typically, I don't know if this because whatever want to deal. I don't know, why more production companies don't do things there.
Yeah.
But.
Well, also, did you know about Assembly Atlanta?
No.
So I'm really nervous but very excited for this because in theory, this sounds like a freaking game changer. So they bought 135 acres of land.
Oh, wow. And
they built, like, it's done being, well, I mean, they're still doing some projects, but the majority of it is done being built now.
Oh, wow.
And it's like a little city.
Oh, really?
They have public parks for people of the public to go. Like, they have like public areas where anybody can go in. They have apartments that people are like gonna live in. I don't know if that will be restricted to people in the film industry or what. They like have restaurants. They have cafes. They have a bunch of different studios. They have like different like. They have New York set up and London area set up and like all these different areas to film, so then they don't have to go to other countries. But then it's also like a work, play, sleep, live area all in one. Wow. And it sounds like so exciting and so scary because for multiple reasons. Because first of all, if I'm living there, do I have to go through all the security checks like every single day? Like, are there going to be people, like some members of the public are great when people are filming and they will be respectful and just watch and with a closed mouth. Some people are going to be screaming that they're filming. Like, and you're going to have to cut a lot more.
Depending on too, like, using that space for certain stars or celebrities or those kind of things. I mean, it could definitely be even potentially dangerous for potentially star kind of studded cast members. So I mean that may be a thing, but again, depending on what part and how much of it is accessible on this space. If it's like again all the stuff that's for the public is more so in the front, and then all the film things are more towards the back of the property or. That type of thing. But where is this going to be?
It's in Doraville.
Really?
Wow. I'm looking up the layout right now because I couldn't tell when I was looking at it like what where exactly everything was going to be, because if here's like one of the cartoon layouts, look it up if y'all want, y'all, because there's like a whole park and and they're going to have a music venue there. That's the music venue. Like, I'm like, well, how are y'all going to have a concert and be filming at the same time?
Right.
Like, I know you got 120 something acres, but I just want to see the, like, for real layout and the logistics of this working.
Exactly.
Because
that's interesting, though. So, yeah.
You basically could get in trouble for having a pin drop if you're, like, legitimately, if you're filming.
You got public, you got everything kind of contradictory to a film space, actually. Yeah. It is. What's everything you don't need while filming? We're going to put it there. We're going to put cafes, shopping centers, concert halls.
Yeah, the concert halls are really got me. How are y'all going to control that? How are you going to control it security-wise? How are you going to control it noise-wise? That was like my first thought, was noise-wise. Like, those studios better be the most soundproof thing I've ever seen. It does look like the city and the studios are like kind of separate. Like, they have more studios here, but then even in the city they have some of the studios there.
Yeah, and I think that with those things too, I mean, I think it's going to drive more of course people here for work, things of that nature, which again can be good. As well, create more jobs. Hopefully, more things get filmed and shot. Those kind of things. But I do wonder, like, how that will bring, again, naturally, because it's going to bring a lot more people. Then how will those more people kind of affect? Because, like I said, I mean, Atlanta's
we're struggling to handle the people that we have now. And I tell you what, being Atlanta born and raised, we've been struggling the whole time. So to bring more and more people and to have like crazier roads and less access to everything is wild.
Yeah. It is definitely going to be those things.
Okay. I'm sorry, he's chewing on stuff. Teddy, come here. Come on. Come on. No. Come here. There you go. Come on. Come play. So now, response to me saying it's wild.
Yeah, because it is wild. It's like I think that, I mean, the roads are definitely not built. We got like one-way lanes and stuff. And,
or my biggest pet peeve is that one area in Atlanta where it turns to all 3 lanes on your right-hand side are exit only.
Oh, yeah.
That is so dangerous, and that's like right around, it's near at least where the 85 and 75 split happens, and it's like there's too much going on.
And so much construction and things being built. And, I mean, it's a lot that's happening, and I wonder, if it's the goal is to kind of be, in a few years, kind of like a mini Hollywood for sure. California on the East Coast is what it's the way that they're building and expanding, and I do think, again, film does have a place in that, or in that, bringing that influx of people from here, because now for sure, I mean, you got people who do live in California who's like, hey, why do I need to continue to pay these high rates and these high,
But it actually, I was looking it up, and it makes more sense for people out of state to work here, like to stay out of state, because you get more tax benefits if you live out of state and you're coming to work in Georgia.
Oh, wow.
And you also, like, depending on your position, not for a PA, but depending on your position, then you get per diem for housing. So then they will not only a lot of times, like, put you up in housing, or they'll give you per diem to pay for your rent back home and to pay for the rent here. Oh, and it's usually, like, a little over both of those.
Oh, wow.
Like, it definitely depends on your position. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But, like, that was another thing that I was hoping would change, was that the people getting I don't know. That's one thing that I feel like they could change and people would still come, of giving more tax benefits to people that live here and are paying these taxes, you know?
Right, for sure.
But I don't know. I don't know when or how that can change.
Right. I don't know. And I think it's going to also, like, you know, ultimately, again, bring people from all over, really. Because, again, I mean, I know, like, for me, that's what brought me here versus going to New York or California. Because it was like, okay, well, again, I'm already, you know, in the South. That I can just, you know, go here. Versus making it, you know, people who might be closer to the middle of the country, again, was like, well, let me just try the East Coast versus West Coast or North or those kind of things. So, I mean, more people for sure. But again, I mean, we have all these strikes, and again, you know, I mean, who knows, have all this space and not the work is the problem.
Right.
You know?
I think it would help, though, like, I mean, well, it would help and hurt, because I think it's a good idea to unionize background and production assistants.
Yeah.
Granted, that might mean there's some more strike time, but at least that, like, people aren't in those positions aren't getting, like, screwed over with their pay and with, like, all their benefits and everything compared to people in unions.
Right, and I agree with that, too, because I think that when it comes to, I mean, the amount of money that's going to, you know, that goes into a lot of these films and stuff now, and the hope to be able to get a return. Typically, you know, background and PAs and stuff, typically budgets is kind of one of the first things to get cut, you know, or, you know, let's try to give them a cheaper rate.
And most of your budget is paying people.
Yeah, and most of the budget is definitely payroll for sure. So it's, you know, it's like, okay, well, and then I think that's when you start getting into this AI stuff of, okay, well, instead of us needing 100 backgrounds, let's just try to scan a few in and then, you know,
use them forever.
Use them forever, and then again we can cut costs on those positions. You know, which again, I mean, I think again background is necessary, and I mean when you talk about as far as major casting goes, I mean background typically is the largest portion of your cast.
If you see anybody on a film or TV and they're on the screen, even if they're reacting, but they don't say a line, their background.
Yep.
So if you have that knowledge and watch back things, you realize how many people are background, and furthermore, how many people like do not get paid like anywhere near the amount that anybody else does. And then also there is kind of this culture in the politics of filming where like now some people in all positions, but I have experienced some background people that I'm like, how did you get this job? But like you were doing everything you're not supposed to. But the majority of people are like good people, have worked in the industry before, know what they're doing, know what's expected of them. And then there's still this like weirdness of like, but they're beneath us. And so I think if they're unionized, then maybe some of that culture of like treating people less than, starting with background and then also getting PAs treated less than, like maybe some of that would go away.
And I agree that we need that because, I mean, end of the day, we're all still a part of like the same team process. And that was a lot of things for me.
We're all humans.
And more than anything, right, more than that, anything. But I feel like, you know, we all have a position and a job to make this thing happen, and we're all valuable, especially we talk about with background, because at the end of the day, background they're still actors. You know what I'm saying? Many of them are most are still professionally trained, you know, have done vast amount of things, you know, on screen, off screen, you know, and of course, we're all just trying to make our different ways into different levels or more exposure or more lines or better roles. But again, it's like, you know, I feel like we're all still fellow actors, so I can't treat a background shitty because I treat a background shitty now. They can be my co-star in the next thing easily, because again, I mean, it's all depending on what the directors want. I mean, directors don't necessarily look at particularly a lot of, I mean, they look at, of course, the things you've done, but of course it's the talent that speaks for itself and based off of what they want. You know, so I mean, that could be literally anybody who just happened to, you know, audition and, you know, fit whatever that director wanted. So again, I mean, that could be again a background person, somebody who's never had experience or anything.
Yeah,
you know?
Background really is a wild area to work in because you get to see like it's basically like you're in your own city within background, because they're I would say like half of background are probably actors, or at least in the industry, or have done background a lot, that they know what's going on. And then you have different pockets of people that this is their first gig, they might want to continue, or this is their first thing, they just want to see what a movie's like and see what is behind the scenes. Or it's like I'm retired and this is just something fun that I do. Right. Or like they're there for their kids and want to see how it is if they can send them into it. Like, or there's the wild ones. I don't know who let them on that set. Like there's just so many. You're like really within your own city.
They said we need a body bet.
Yeah, I'm like, it's very rare that I feel that way, but those people are always the loudest. So then you're like, they are rolling. Can you be quiet?
Right. Who don't know the culture yet.
Yeah. Which I get, because I feel like on like our show that we met, I feel like there were definitely times that I learned, like, that's why now if they're rolling, like, I don't even try to whisper unless I have to communicate something, because I know that I am gonna be too loud. Right. And I don't want to get in trouble. That's like the worst feeling ever. It feels like worse than being like sent to the principal office and sent like it's so it's so
embarrassing.
Make some
noise and hear that cut. Oh.
Yeah, and you know everybody's looking at you. Everybody's judging you for it, and everybody's mad at you because now they have to do it again.
Right. It's like, dang it. It's like, man. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst.
Yeah, but that I know we're running out of time, and then if you're on YouTube, you see how more and more crazy Teddy has gotten. So, do you have anything you want to talk about before we?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think for like the most part, we kind of hit a little bit on things. I think ultimately you just kind of have to, how I go, kind of watch and see ultimately what happens. But I'd say I will kind of reiterate for myself. I do see like influx of independent works, and so I would love to be able to see it, and I do hope that will be a thing.
Me too.
That more opportunities for the independent artists and productions to really be able to kind of get their just due. Because again, I mean, a lot of these scripts and stuff, I mean, they're good stuff, they're good things, and the way the process works is to, as an aspiring writer, you have to kind of still go through all these hoops and channels and hopes that is something, again, that these production companies will see as potential and something that they will be willing to invest in. And so hopefully the independent sector can grow. I think the difficulty in that is going to be is how do you pay or receive kind of compensation for the for the independent works. And again, I know that was a part of the issue with the writers with a strike is, okay, we do these works for these streaming services, and now we're not seeing the residuals back from that production like we normally would. And so I and I've personally been doing that too, a little bit of homework myself in trying to figure out the avenues on what distribution looks like for the independent production. Because like I was telling a lot of people, our structure has been set for so long, and you have a production, you either got to self-produce, just to self-produce, to put it into film festivals in hopes it gets picked up in a film festival, and then sometimes you have to do multiple films that you have to actually pay for out of pocket too to even submit. And the only reason you really do film festivals is really to get the notoriety and the clout to be able to boost that a little bit. Hopefully to get the major productions to say, hey, we like you. We like the film, to be able to say, oh yeah, we won this amount of film production, kind of get
and hopefully this assembly will bring some film productions there hopefully the film productions, but film festivals and create more of like a culture of that in Atlanta too, because there are some, but I feel like that film festivals are bigger in California.
You're right.
And it would be helpful to have more here.
And you get that pool, to get the ideas and stuff that's like what can work and, might not work or those kind of things. But I personally don't necessarily like that kind of structure too, because again, you're still always in the place of, hoping and to kind of get that seat at the table. Because again, at the end of the day, the goal is still like, okay, I want to get my work in the theaters.
Yeah. And I don't necessarily like the structure like that, but I think maybe if it's become a cultural event for like people not involved in the film industry to go to film festivals and check out work, and then they create buzz that will open up the eyes of the people that you need, then maybe that can help more independent people if it becomes an event that everyone wants to go to, and there's some sort of feedback that you can get from the audience right then and there that will help get more money to independent projects.
Right.
And I do think that the remake stuff is on the plateau. Like, I think in a few years there won't be as much remakes as there has been lately. And I wish I could remake a new dog right now because he's on YouTube. Please drop it in the comments if you want us to fire Teddy, okay? Because or keep him. Either way, let us know. Because every day I contemplate not letting him in this damn podcast.
He tries so hard. Tries so hard. He likes to be the star.
I know, he is.
And has no lines. It's great.
He is his own independent production here.
Best supporting actor goes to.
Don't take no direction. Don't listen to nobody, and wants to scream while we're rolling.
Every time. Love it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, like, I guess, like I said, we got to just kind of see. And I mean, you guys, pipe into as well what you guys may think. Maybe the future as far as Hollywood too. You do think it's gonna continue to be kind of on the rise, so to speak, or do you think it's kind of meeting its days? And
what do you think's gonna happen in Atlanta and like California and New York? Like, how do you see that changing over the next few years? And even if you don't know, like, how it would change, how would you want it to change?
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you want to see from the film industry?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a good question. Absolutely. Yeah, drop those things in.
That's my main question right there.
Yes, right. What would you want to see?
Yeah. And then I guess my main statement is like, subscribe, comment, do all those things, please.
Absolutely.
Follow at Talkin Shit ATL on Instagram and TikTok. If you like this episode, if you didn't like this episode, whatever you felt, share it with a friend. Let's get the ball rolling on this independent project.
Right,
okay?
Absolutely right. That's what we're working on. So we love to hear for that. So we can, maybe be the successors to make that happen. So
yeah, for sure.
Get ahead of the curve.
Yeah, but we appreciate you coming and listening or watching forever and ever. We appreciate you.
Thank you again for tuning in.
Yeah.
You guys will see you next week. We'll do it again.
Yeah. Okay. Love you. Bye.